Welcome Claire Hughes from Sainsbury's. Claire has spoken actually virtually with us a couple of years ago. One of these days, I'm going to get her to speak at a real live event. We'll see what happens there. But today, we're excited to have you here, Claire. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
So, Claire, first of all, let's introduce you. Tell us about you, your career, kind of how did you become, the Sainsbury goddess that you are?
I've got a bit of a squiggly career, so it's a good one to describe because there's more than one way to come into innovation. I started off really passionate about food, but actually I was really passionate about nutrition. So I studied nutrition. I spent a bit of time working in sort of research as a nutritionist and doing lots of studies with people. And then in Scotland, actually getting Scottish people to eat healthier diets. And then one of the things no more haggis. And one of the things I realised about where I then thought I could influence more from a nutrition point of view if I went into the food industry. So I spent a bit of time in Scotland working with Scottish companies. And then my first retail job was with Safeway. And I joined them as a nutritionist to work on the new product ranges. And then I moved from Safeway, spent a bit of time in PR, and then went to Marks and Spencer. Spent 13 years at Marks and Spencer, working in various different roles. I joined doing health roles, then went in to do some technical roles, worked in different areas, and then joined Sainsbury's to head up quality and innovation, which was the role at the time. And then we had a new CEO in 2020, Simon Roberts. And he really put the focus back on food for Sainsbury's, and we launched a new food strategy. And then at that time, I became sort of director of product and innovation for our own label business, part of the business.
That sounds like a big role.
It's a big role because we've got a lot of products. Like with any retail, and I know some retail models of how we work are quite different. We work with the alongside commercial team, technical teams, and so that we all work in a sort of trio or a three-legged stool, as we like to describe it. But yeah, I look after my role. I'm so privileged, actually. I get to work across in grocery, across food, and then I've got health and beauty for own label, as well as household and pet. So there's loads of variety in products. And my team, we would also look after how those products look as well. So we work with our branding agencies to come up with the product designs and how we talk about the products to customers. So yeah, it's there's lots of fun in it as well. So it's a real privilege.
Sounds like it. So I assume everybody knows Sainsbury's, but if you're watching on YouTube, I don't know, in a country somewhere, and you don't, tell us about Sainsbury's.
Well, Sainsbury's is the big orange retailer in the UK. So I'm saying orange because you will, if you don't know Sainsbury's, you'll see if you pass a supermarket and it's got the orange sign, that's Sainsbury's. Second biggest retailer in the UK. We have supermarkets and we have local store formats as well. So convenience, so the type of format that you would find in a town, quite small with a slightly less range. And then we've got various sizes of supermarkets. And also within actually a supermarket as well, we've got a food offer. We also sell clothing and non-food.
So all kinds of businesses. That's fun.
Yeah, so all kinds of businesses. What people sometimes don't realise is that Argos, which was an online retailer, is also part of Sainsbury's. So you'll find Argos points in our stores. But yeah, food really synonymous with customers on quality. So Sainsbury's is recognised by our customers and UK consumers. Actually, is being known as being a quality retailer. And a few years back, we celebrated our 125th year anniversary. So we've been around in the UK for a long time.
And I think I know this, but is there like a museum there in your offices for Sainsbury's?
There is. We've got an archives. Yeah, there is. We've got an archive. And it's amazing what you can get from the archives from Sainsbury's. I've had lots of inspiration there for branding, for designs, for naming products, just because we've got such a rich history.
I mean, and I've seen some of the old brand style guides from the 60s and 70s and stuff that are super cool. You're just
They're
kind of looking at
amazing.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
like people aren't doing it this well today. So,
Yeah, they're amazing. They're good to go back to, and also what's changed. So there's a massive amount of history about what we sold. So when we celebrated 125 years, we opened like a shop in Covent Garden that
mhm.
was based on what it would look like 125 years. And it just really shows you how retail's changed in the
Wow.
UK. It was about selling over a counter, but it was started up on the premise of providing customers with safe and good quality food at
Well, I mean,
affordable
you
prices.
think
Yeah.
you, you think about it though. I mean, every retailer in the world says, we're all about the customer and all this stuff. But 100 years ago, 125 years, you walked into a Sainsbury, that the person who owned that man probably knew the shopper, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, true,
actually knew the shopper.
true, true. And actually, I'd say a lot of our colleagues that work in stores now know their shoppers
Yeah,
because you do get regular customers that come back. So um, I spend a lot of time in stores, or my stores and other people's stores, having a look. But you really need to be close to the customer if you want to innovate for them and bring products that are
absolutely.
relevant. Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit. Kind of when you look across the landscape, the state of private brand, own brand innovation, not just you guys, but just in general, what do you think of it? I mean, where are we today?
I think in the last few years, there's been lots, and I look across globally actually, and I've seen quite a
Hmm.
lot of stuff come out in this from retailers in the States. There's been lots of focus in own label, and some of that has been driven by a cost of living crisis where people often switch out of brands and they buy more own label products. And there's a market for own label because which sits brilliantly alongside the brands. It's offering something different to customers. And it's what you put your name on as well.
Hmm.
So you're able to control it. The reason why I like working in own label is you can work across so many categories. When do you have a chance that you can create a concept over here in ready meals, but you
Yeah.
can bring it through to groceries as well? So that's what gives me a buzz about it, those kind of cross category ranges.
I mean, that was always my favorite thing. We so much talk about big packaged goods manufacturers and all that, but the reality of the brands they're building is they're mostly based off what they manufacture, right? I make washing soap. So all of a sudden I have a washing soap brand, right? You can make it with any category in any product in the store, sourced from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I mean the brands do their job very well, and
Mhm.
customers, but sort of working in an own label, you are working across multiple categories. So my team, although they'll be aligned to the categories, so I'll have products for Christmas that might be for pets.
Mm.
Pet gifting in the UK has become big, so we'll get pets, and then we'll be working on Christmas products for in confectionery as well, and they'll all be in the same look and feel, and you're bringing them together. So you can create this sort of proposition through design and packaging actually that goes across all the stores.
I mean, I think it's just a fascinating way to go to market because the shopper walks in and they don't think about how you're arranged in the background, right? They don't know how your org structure is or any of that. They just know I have a dog and I have a kid
Yeah,
and I'm going to throw a party.
yeah, it's true. And there are category specific like products we'll be developing. We'll be doing that with the category teams, and then also I mean, Christmas and celebrations are big. Within the UK are big for us in events. We spend a lot of time. I always say it's Christmas all year in retail, because before I've put this Christmas is going into store, we'll be working in the one for the following year. So we'll be Valentine's Day. So the events have become bigger, and I think that's partly driven by people wanting to celebrate the small things. It's maybe a sort of hangover for where we were during sort of COVID times, where people couldn't do stuff and they were restricted. So we've seen people celebrate. They want to get people together. That's been sort of coming through over the last couple of years.
Well, and I think there's something to be said for those small indulgences, even if
Totally.
economically you're not in a great place, you can still buy a nice piece of chocolate. You can,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you can, or yeah, treat yourself. It can be a small treat.
nice tin of biscuits. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, so you lead innovation. So talk to us about some of the things you're excited about that you guys are doing right now.
So what I've been excited about, what we've launched into store, we're working in, is a lot of this innovation we've done for summer this year. And I'd say we haven't had brilliant weather in the UK yet. Although it's nice today, and I'm in London. I'm based in London. It's warm in
Yeah,
London today. But we've been doing lots of innovation for summer products. We tend to do that across sort of what I call picnic and grazing. There's been quite a lot of, we've launched this year, I think it's the first to market in the UK actually. It's like um, a pina colada in a box. We haven't had them before
oh,
for
fun.
summer as well. So we've been doing cocktails, lots of rosy wine as you would expect, and then barbecue. So big in barbecue. Now we have to weatherproof our barbecues. So often on the front of pack we'll talk about barbecuing, and also you can cook it in the oven. You can air fry it.
Sure.
Air fryers. We've been putting air fryer instructions in our products because customers like to use them. So we've been making sure that when we're talking about barbecue, people don't think, oh, I can only do that when it's sunny.
Hmm.
So yeah, lots of our inspiration from this year came from the team went to look at barbecue the year before in the States actually, and they went to Memphis, and they came back with loads of ideas for sauces and marinades, and we work with our suppliers to develop and deliver that. So I remember like a really rainy day, I think last October, looking at the stuff we were going to do for the summer barbecue the following year.
Well, I mean, I think that's interesting. So you're taking a global perspective on innovation and on discovery, right? So you
Yeah,
going
yeah.
out there and curating and finding those things for your shoppers.
Yeah, and we know what flavors. I mean, spicy flavors our customers like. Um, so they like products with a little bit of a kick. We have to tell them
Mhm.
how much of a kick. I'm a bit biased because I like really spicy food, so I'm probably not the best person to test for it. But what we're seeing is there's quite a lot of fusions in flavors, which I think is interesting for customers. I mean, one of the reasons why I think I do, but also the rest of my team do, love working in food is you can bring new products to customers that they might not have had in a restaurant before, or they might have had it in a restaurant, but you then take it and make it mainstream. I think
Right.
that's the brilliant thing about developing products.
So I live in the southern part of the United States in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there's just this restaurant that is so hot right now that has taken their Korean and it's a husband and wife. The husband's Korean and the wife is from the South, and they're doing Korean Southern barbecue.
Oh,
So big
wow.
pork butts and all this stuff, but
Oh,
in
wow.
Korean flavors, like long smoke. And this restaurant has just blown up.
I think I have to go there.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah, sounds
So
amazing.
and it's just interesting how the internet and Pinterest and TikTok and all of these things have kind of made the world smaller, and the flavors are now available to a lot of people. Are you seeing your shoppers receptive?
Yeah, we are seeing shoppers receptive, and actually, not everything works, but not
Of course
everything
not.
should work. You can be a bit early to market with flavor combinations as well. Um, but yeah, even when you've done a lot of testing, because we do a lot of testing and flavors up front, still not everything will work when you put in. But people are receptive to trying new things. It's how you describe it and bring that
Mhm.
familiarity through in the titles. Because if you make it too complicated, you can sort of put people off because they don't know
Right.
what it is. Yeah, and that there's a real skill in that actually when you're designing and developing the messaging for packaging.
And are you able to tell the story across multiple formats? So I mean, I know obviously the UK is big on the ready meal, so there's all kinds of flavors there. But are you telling similar stories to me if I want to cook it myself?
Yeah, and we would have customers that want to cook it themselves, and then other customers that want it was quite easy for them. So if I
Mm.
think about going back to barbecue, you can use the flavors in store because we're able to bring the flavors through in dressings and rubs and marinades, so that for the customer that makes it themselves, they can do that on the steak if they want steak, or we can also do a steak that's pre-prepared as well, so that the customer can just put it on the barbecue. And yeah, different customers consider cooking to mean slightly different things for them.
Oh yeah.
So understanding your customer and what they do with the products really helps to actually define your strategy for product as well.
And honestly, I do given any day, different day of the week. On a
Me
Tuesday, I
too.
might just want it to be easy. If it's Sunday, I might want to like have a project.
Me too. I do a lot of stir fries because they're quick and easy. But yeah, like you, it could that's because it suits. It's convenient. But at other times, I'll spend time cooking.
Well, so I know you and the team have done a lot of cool things, launching premium lines and seasonal lines. Talk to me about, the emergence of premium and kind of what you're
Yeah.
seeing.
So we've got a big brand in the UK called Taste the Difference,
Mhm.
and we launched that. It's 25 years old next year, actually. So we that's how long it's been in the market. It's had various iterations of sort of looks and feels over the years. And last year we did a big rebrand on that, on those products. We'd seen more customers shopping. They were looking for that kind of restaurant experience at home, especially when there was a cost of living crisis and people were struggling to
Mhm.
go out as much, but they wanted to have an experience at home. So we launched a brand last year. We've got products across the whole store actually. And we do quite a lot in Taste the Difference for Christmas. Last year where we did really well in the market actually for Taste the Difference. And it's where we will bring in it quite a lot of it's about the ingredients, the speciality of the ingredients, where they come from, really to appeal to a customer that's sort of really interested in food as well. And we sort of bring products, but we do a really good job for in products for events and by Sainsbury's as well, especially making them quite family friendly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we've seen that trend out pretty much globally, so it's not
yeah,
shocking. You
no,
guys do a great job of it, though. Talk to me a little bit because we watched Americans are fascinated with the British royalty for whatever reason. And honestly, I was fascinated by all the coronation products. Talk to me about
yeah.
that a little bit.
Yeah, it's sort of like I think because we'd had Platinum Jubilee celebrations as well, and there was quite a lot of
Mhm.
ranges launched for that. And then for the coronation, and I think, usually you'd have had a few biscuit tins, but for us, we launched a number like gifting products, but also like sort of sausage rolls and sort of other products you'd expect for picnic. And I think it helps support the whole people getting into the celebration,
Yeah.
and also bringing in limited edition products that are not in store for very long. So it brings that interest. But yeah, last year there's some fantastic products. We had a design that was specifically pulled together for sort of some Taste the Difference. We had a Taste the Difference ale. We had an orange liqueur. We had biscuits. So we'd specifically designed products for customers to celebrate with.
I mean, that's just really cool. So the other side of the spectrum is I know, not too long before that you launched, or relaunched, your value brand, so Stamford Street. Talk to me about that and how
Yeah.
it's been.
That was last year, and it actually feels like it shows you how much goes on in a year, actually. So we launched
Mhm.
last year. We had a brand called Basics, that we'd taken out, which was the right thing to do, because we'd done loads of testing on it, and replaced it with about 13 what we called own brands. They were sort of brands that we used in certain categories. So we had one called Stamford Street actually. And when I talked before about the archives, the names were inspired by old Sainsbury's history. So Stamford
Makes sense.
Street. Yeah, so Stamford Street was one of those that we really liked. It was in ready meals. And we decided last January that whilst we'd had all those other brands, the customer and our colleagues actually feedback was, well, we know we've got the products, but it's hard to shop across the store because they're all different. It was really hard for marketing to communicate because they would have had to have shown like 13 pictures of all these different sub
Yeah.
brands. So we decided, well, let's pick Stamford Street. And I think we developed some newness alongside what we had existing to go in at the same time, and then we just rebranded everything. We had to do a slight change on that brand so that it worked across a broader range of products, and we launched it into store. We decided to do it in January, and it went in June, end of May, June. So it was pretty quick.
Wow, that's
And
moving pretty quick.
yeah, and the feedback from colleagues and mostly was amazing, because then they could point out to those products, the best value products to customers in store, and they could find the range, and they understood what that range was there to do, because it was one brand they were looking for. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you obviously the UK and you guys sustainability is big, and both because of legislation and just because you believe in it, which is great. Talk to me about packaging optimization and sustainability that you guys are working through.
Yeah, so we've been working in packaging sort of since 2019. We made quite a big commitment about what we wanted to do, specifically focusing on plastic, but it's much broader than plastic. So we've done lots of work, and we've just put into store this week salmon into a new format where it's on a pulp board with a film
Hmm.
over it, and our breaded chicken has gone in a card box. One of the biggest changes, actually, which kind of landed over a couple of periods a month, it's where we've taken out the most plastic, was taking all our mushrooms and moving them. They were in plastic trays, and we moved them out of plastic into card. And it's had a massive difference in the store as well, from a sort of perspective. So I think that was over 700 tons of plastic saved, actually, by doing that. So yeah, some big numbers. It's kind of embedded within our product development process, because for me, packaging is product. If you don't get the packaging right, the customer won't pick up the product. So not only does the physical packaging have to be functional, you have to have the branding and the design in the product
Right.
as well. So the team work up front, and we've got targets that each of the categories are working to, category-based teams on packaging reduction, and that's built into the process for development.
So how early does that conversation start?
At the beginning. So when you're developing a new range, it will start at the beginning. And because we know where our hot spots are in our packaging, so we'll know in dairy what are the biggest drivers for plastic, we will then look at, well, is there anything we can do with that plastic? And it might be sometimes that that's the right raw material for the product to be in. But where we can switch out the raw material without creating an impact other places, then we will do.
And I
Yeah.
tell retailers all the time, because they ask, and I'm like, when are you? And they're like, oh, well, when we're done with the product, we talk about the packaging. I'm like,
Too late. That's what it's why that you have to have it embedded in your development team and your innovation team, because if it sits in sort of another team, it's always retrospectively back, and you need to put it in your product briefs up front, and we need to be looking at packaging. And the team have done some amazing things together, so they're constantly bringing in different trees to try. Some of them don't work, and some of them you have problems when you first launch them, because you've gone a whole scale change in a supplier, and they're using a different raw material. But it's the right thing to do, just to rebalance your portfolio with different raw materials.
well, and so have the customers received the changes there?
Broadly, really well, because we
Hmm.
tend to communicate what we've done, and it's gone into a new look. If the packaging change affects the product, then you might get a few comments from customers, but that's where, like, we need to do a better job up front, thinking actually the product's key in that situation. So always protect the product, and thinking about making sure we've communicated the right aspects. But customers, plastics really high, or packaging concerns on packaging is really high in customers' minds from an environmental perspective and sustainability. And I think for me, it's because they can see it, because they can't see other aspects like carbon. So they'll have awareness of it, but it's hard to
Yeah, carbon
physically.
is so much harder to
It
understand.
is.
But
It is.
plastic, I know. I have to
You
throw it
see it.
away. I have to do something
Yeah,
with it, right?
yeah, and you're conscious it's going in a recycling bin or it's maybe not able to be
Mhm.
recycled. So it's the area where, even from a store colleague point of view and customers, they've been most vocal about throughout Plan for Better. And actually, for the UK anyway, David Attenborough sort of kicked a lot of that awareness off with Blue Planet when
Yeah.
he did his first series of Blue Planet, and it really sort of elevated that concern around what packaging people were using. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's just an ongoing conversation
it
globally.
is. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is, and it is, and it's there's a balance between waste, so not driving food waste, which we wouldn't do. So we wouldn't launch packaging that was had less plastic and it caused food waste. There's a whole balance, mindful balance all the time, and really in future it's about putting packaging onto the market that we know where it's going, where its end point is. Sort of a whole circularity aspect around packaging.
So as you look to the future of your brands and your packaging with sustainability, obviously there's legislation coming down every
Mm.
day, but where do you think it's going?
I think it's hard to say. We're waiting in the UK actually just for the final. We're rolling out an EPR based legislation where different packaging types will have a cost associated with
Mhm.
them, but we're sort of still working out what that looks like. Um, But I mean, beyond legislation, it's the right thing to do. So it's about doing the right thing. I mean, I think all over the world, actually, we need to help customers and everybody find it easier to eat healthier as well. So there's a lot we can think about from a health point of view and how we make that easy to find the right products when they're shopping in store. So I think as science emerges and we learn there's new innovations and new ways of doing that, but that's what's great about being in this role, because you have to adapt and evolve as well, and what you did in the last couple of years won't be right for the future. So I think if I think about the future, and I think about sustainability's influence, and you we have to get to a point where we're making products better, and better can be environmentally better in a number of levels: carbon, plastic, animal welfare is quite a consideration. And then also we're sort of helping customers rebalance what they eat. So they're eating a healthier based diet most of the time. Yeah. And it's a big challenge for all of us.
Well, I mean, you guys, like most retailers, have the opportunity to reshape the way the world eats, right? I mean, so I think it's an interesting conversation to look at where it goes, and there's gut health, and there's honestly just
Yeah. Yeah.
packaged goods that don't have so much
Yeah.
junk in them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And there's a whole like, and there's still a place for convenient foods, because the one thing in all of this where you read a lot of things, people talking about people cooking for scratch.
Mhm.
For me, like customers want convenience, so it's how
Sure.
we deliver convenience in a way that's both healthy and sustainable.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't have the time to cook I love to cook. I don't have the time to do it every
No,
day,
not
so
every day.
that's
Exactly. Yeah.
honestly
Exactly.
the desire. I just when I do, but so, any retailer who can help me make it healthier, faster, easier, cheaper, all those things, I'm gonna like you a little better.
Yeah, yeah, definitely making it easier, definitely.
I mean, I think it's exciting to see the conversations of health and sustainability and branding and all these things sort of merge and make for smarter retail.
Yeah, and I think they will, and I think for me it's about collaboration in that space as well, because there's no one retailer can do it on their own. So we've all got suppliers, manufacturing, so we all it's about how we all collaborate and have the one way of measuring and work together, because none of us is going to deliver a sustainable food system of our own accord.
Well, and that's what we do annually a sustainability summit in Phoenix, Arizona here. You should come to Phoenix. That's a fabulous
Yeah.
place too.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds good.
and honestly, that's the entire conversation. It's that even as big as Walmart is, or Target, or Publix, or whoever here in the U.S., they can't do it by themselves.
Yeah,
So
it's true. Yeah, no,
globally, it's how do we work together to do
how
better?
do we work together, share best practice, share what works, share what doesn't work. There's a whole sort of to reset and relook at the global food system. Yeah.
Well, Claire, in closing, is there anything you'd like to leave with our viewers? I mean, is there any advice? Is there any words of wisdom?
I think the one thing I'd say is keep innovating. Sometimes people think it's easier not. It's easier not to. You don't have to do it. We do have to do it. We have to do it um, to excite the customers, to get them to try new things, but also to meet our sustainability goals. And if you are in the UK, come and visit a Sainsbury's. And if you're sitting there and you'd like to meet someone from Sainsbury's and find out about what we do, get in touch. I'd love to. I think it's really important to meet people across the globe and share learnings.
I think that's a fabulous invitation. So
I know, I'm hoping I hear from people and they want to come in. So yeah, if you are in Europe or we do something in Europe, yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, very good. Well, thank you for joining us for this. We've appreciated you giving us your time and your insights. Thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.